All right. Good morning out there. Let us make sure this is going fine. Checking one, checking one. Okay, we're good. All right. Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Resales. My name is Ryan. I get stuff from yard sales, garage sales, thrift stores, and similar places and try and make a few extra bucks online. This morning, not a ton of sales over the weekend, which is a little disappointing considering I've kind of been on a roll I would say the past few weeks with some good sales. But this weekend just didn't pan out. Not a ton of great finds that I'm gonna like. I had to come in and sit down and get listed before anything else. From yard sales, hit a few yard sales. There was one community yard sale with like 5 or 6 houses that participated, and I think the most I spent was $1 on a lemonade stand because you got to do that. But other than that, there wasn't much. So we'll go over it. And I've got a real uh I'm not gonna call it a moral dilemma, but we're gonna talk about this book and why it needs to go to a museum. And it's a little more than what you might think. So uh we'll jump into that in a minute. First off, sales. Let's see here. All right. First off, this I thought would go for a little bit more. This is a little bit older, clean uh, Bible. It's large print, uh, like nicely large print too. It's got a little age to it. It's a little wear on it, but it was a clean Bible with no markings. But it only went for 8.50. I thought it was going to go more in the $10 to $15 range. But considering the lot I got it in and it's been sitting, I'll take it. I think I'll still make a buck or two on it, particularly with the other stuff I bought in. I bought in with a batch of other really expensive stuff that sold quickly, so I'm not chuffed about that much at all. Two more things. Uh, Manga, and let's see, this manga set, a pair of manga sold for $8 shipped. I think this went for $9 shipped. I'm souring on manga unless I can get everything in like a series, like 4 or 5 or 6 in a series. I've been really souring on manga. One more thing I'm gonna try is I'm gonna bring it out to the flea market and see if I can get $2 or $3 a piece for them. And then that'll be fine. If I can get them 50 cents a piece and sell them for $2 or $3 out there pretty well, I'll be happy. But if I can't, I'm gonna start leaving those things on the shelf unless real specific titles or I start getting a bunch. Um, at a time. Next up, bread and butter sell Baptist hymnals. Pick all these up for $2 or less when you see them. This one went for 11.50, and that's low. Uh, should I have held out for a little bit more? Maybe, um, but I think I had it listed about 10 or 15 bucks. I had it listed, I think, for 15. I took 11.50. This price also sold this in less than 2 weeks. So these are fast sellers. Any year, any edition. 90% of the time they're clean copies and decent enough to sell. Even older ones that look pretty beat up, I flipped for profit. So get them when you find them. And finally, on the sales, is I've got this big bag of Bakugan stuff. And they came with these really big cards. And there is one of these cards. I don't remember which one. I'll have to look up in the messages. The guy just wanted one card, one of these oversized cards, and he paid $10 for it. So that's fine too. Bakugan isn't unless you trip over some rare stuff. It doesn't move quick. From what I can tell, maybe if you have a whole bunch of it. But there's some hard to find stuff in that batch, and it wasn't going for $30. So something to think about when you see Bakugan. I think it's one of those brands that's taken a little bit of a dip, and they'll probably come back. Most of the games do, but it really pales in comparison uh, to the other games like Pokemon and that sort of thing. I even think Beyblade does better than Bakugan does, and so I think I think I read something like there was a Bakugan tournament, like a national Bakugan tournament, and that hardly anybody showed. So there you go. That's when you know you're dying brand. Okay, fines, and we're gonna go through these a little bit by little bit. Let's see. Lloyd Alexander. This is an author you need to go look for. Is Lloyd Alexander? Wow, the light's not liking like that. The Black Cauldron. Yes, that Black Cauldron from Disney. So this is, you need to pick these up whenever you see them for, I would say, $1 a piece or less, because I have consistently sold these titles. It's a series called, I remember, I've never read it, but it's like actually like a 5-book series, 4 or 5-book series, and I grab every single one of his books that I find because they've always been able to move. All right, so that may be a $10 to $12 book by itself. Let's see what else. All right, a little more bread and butter stuff. I tend to do okay with these. The Childhood of Famous Americans. You really want the old hardcovers. There's some of the old hardcovers that are $30, $40 books. These are $3 to $5, depending. And I've actually had pretty reasonable amount of success selling those on Facebook Marketplace and some of the niche groups. Stephen King books. I always grab the Dark Tower series. Those consistent sellers, $3 to $5 or more, depending on how early the edition is, what edition it is. These are actually some of the better sellers, I think, in Stephen King stuff. I almost feel like their Stephen King books have taken a dive lately, particularly the stuff that used to sell a little more decently, like the books that were like the older movies, the 70s and 80s movies. Those books used to sell pretty well, and some still do. But I want to say that like some like Tommy Knockers, and there's a couple other ones that like they don't move. So I think I've had a copy of Tommy Knockers forever. And I wanted to bring it out to the yard sale, to the thrift flea market or something like that. Okay, I can't not get Tarzan books when I see them, but I think the problem is they don't sell. So as much as I love Tarzan, they don't do great. Here's another author you need to look for kids books is Bill Peet. I'm gonna probably put this on Facebook Marketplace with a lot of other books and see if I can't move it. But Bill Peet books tend to do, they're fun books too. Tend to do pretty well. And for flea market purposes, and I'm gonna throw these on a couple of Civil War groups, but Civil War histories are still. It's one of those things. They're either worth like $3 or 300, and there's almost no in between on some of these things. But I think sometimes it depends. Local history, Civil War does really decently. People love the local history Civil War stuff in the South, but the more general histories I think don't do as well unless they're real specific stuff. But I grab them when they're cheap because I live in an area out at the flea market where they do pretty good. And I can get $3 to $5 for a Civil War book just about any day of the week out there. So that's what we got here. Now I still need to look those up just to make sure I didn't trip over something decent. All right, that's that. That's that. Well, thing of card holders with some Shaq cards, and I think those are Lakers with some Shaq Lakers cards. That I'm going to look up and make sure I didn't trip over something decent, but. Unlikely, but it's worth trying. It's worth checking out and making sure. Couple of jackets. This one was hard to figure. I think this is a discontinued one from this brand. This is Drake Waterfowl Systems. Realtree camo jacket. I think brand new. This was like $150 jacket. I'm thinking it's going to go. I can get 50 to 70 for it, but give or take, maybe 30, as low as 30, but it's still going to be a profit. I picked it up 50 cents at a yard sale on Friday and immediately listed it just about. Same thing with, well, not same thing. This is a Dickies sort of a work light jacket, heavy material, good condition. Almost wish it fit me, or that I needed it because this is a real good find. This is a $20 to $30 jacket as well. I think it's 50 cents. Uh, really start taking a look at outerwear at the yard sales because you may trip over something and make sure the brands. Dickies jackets, I've sold several, and they tend to do okay. Because it's still a halfway decent. I don't think it's as good a brand as it used to be. Like most Chinese or PE bought, private equity bought stuff. Here, right there, bothering me. But some of them are still good buys. So worth grabbing. Okay, finally, I think. Yeah, here we go. Okay, couple bread and butter books. A small Bible got this at Goodwill. This is a large print compact Bible, which means it's like regular print size, and then they squeeze it down into this. So I suspect this is $10 to $15 Bible, but it was clean, in really good shape, King James. But like I said, there's something special, particular to it, and it's in really good shape with leather cover. So usually this is an easy $10 to $15. And finally, I don't know that I haven't sold one like that before for around that range. And I haven't looked these up yet, but WWE figures. If you can get these for $1 or less, grab them. These are easy sales at $3 a piece out at the flea market. But every now and then, if you trip over a rare one or something like that for one reason or another, you can flip them for a reasonable amount of money. So I don't see any of the classic. Sometimes you find the '80s guys, and those are hard to resell because I want to keep them for that reason. Okay, done with that. Time for the lesson. Okay, this book here. Where'd you go? Right there. All right. I got this book at an estate sale a few weeks ago. Buddy of mine wanted to look at it before I sold it because not sell, but before I sent it off because it was pretty cool. He's Army. Mad respect for you, Justin, and shout out to the U.S. Army and to my boys out there. But this is a 1942 basic field manual for armed defense in the American soldier. And if this was in mint condition, now yes, I agree. I'd be in a quandary if this is a $100 book. It's not a $100 book. In mint condition, this is a $30 book at best. I gotta sneeze in a second. Excuse me. Anyway, this is a $30 book at best. But what's on it is that you can't see it. I don't think you can see it there in the video. But there's a corporal's name and where he was stationed. Anyway, excuse me. That may happen a few times because that's what that usually does. It's stationed in Atlantic City, New Jersey. But he's not from Atlantic City. He is from Monroe County, Georgia. This corporal. And there's an obit of a relative on some weird. I'm going to read this. I'm not going to put the names out, but I'm going to read this old letter. It's really interesting. Georgia, Morgan County, for the sum of $25, I hereby relieve Arthur from all future claims that may arise from the accident of bodily injuries to my minor son Robert on September 14th, 1941. Signed this 27th day of September. So, what I'm going to do with this is one of the great things about America, and I want to say even like Europeans have acknowledged this, is like just about every county, every locale has a local history museum. It may be the size of my office, but there's a ton. It may be at like the local library or something like that. But there's actually a ton of small museums scattered all across America, and I'd say just about every county has one. And so I contacted, was this the Morgan County, Monroe, Georgia, Morgan County Museum, and I asked him, "Do you want this?" And he said, "Absolutely. Live here. Here's my address. Send it over." So that's what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to ship this out today to that museum because that's where this family is from. I did a little research online. That's where this family's from. I think something like this is better in the hands of now. If there was no name on this, in particular, if it was no one of significant importance, something like that. If it was somebody famous, then maybe you're dealing with something there. But then you got provenance issues. But something like that, when you find it, send it to find out who it belonged to, and if there's family or if there's particularly if there's a museum locally there. They typically know how to handle that stuff, and it's actually better served than being stored there as part of that local history than it necessarily is uh, in the hands of a private collector. Now, goodness knows if I sold it, it might have gone to a private collector in that same county, but that's a rural county in Georgia, so that's a little unlikely. But I was happy to find a place to send that. And my degree's in history. That's my training, and so that's immediately where my thoughts went to as well. But that's my encouragement to y'all out there: is if you find something that looks family history-ish, and particularly if it doesn't have a whole ton of value to it, uh, then send it on. And that's better than trying to squeeze a couple bucks out of it. So anyway, that's today. That's coffee. We got work to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.